welcome back. Apologies early. I am like really not peppy, Sarita. We were outside filming today. Thank you for, who was filming with us today? Pollen was pollinating and yeah, trying to wake up. I got a few updates. One, we will need some people to volunteer to record next month's SAP update. We are just switching it up and getting some new faces in there. We had a volunteer today. Yay. Help us record. It was fun. It only took us like 5 takes. We got it. It's only like a whole minute long, 5 takes. Not too bad. So if you would like to be featured in one of the updates, they're really short. It's just like, this is what we did this month. Follow along with us. Let Kayla know and we'll get you, or email our SAP website and we'll get you on there. We are in the process of that exiting members that haven't really been here enough and onboarding some new ones. So that's happening this month. Board members are bringing recommendations and then we're also taking them from their original list because we kind of did a ranking system based on committee members' answers, so we'll just kind of take the next in line. And we're also looking a little strategically at like what schools may not be represented and looking at it that way as well. So if you know people that did apply, let us know so we can start looking at that list because we'll be onboarding people over the summer. They'll start in the fall. Internal SAP committee, so we're doing a summer institute. I think I talked about this a little bit. So we kind of got our internal people, and I believe we have our SAP members that agreed to come with us some more over the summer months. So that will really look like, are there things that you guys are already starting to think about that we could really operationalize, and how can we do it? And if not, what are the barriers? So if you guys like, yes, borders, no bordered district, could we operationalize it? What are some things that we could do? What are the barriers? So when you come back in the fall, we can say, all right, team one, this is what you said, and here's what can happen in DeKalb, and here's some things that we need to think about. Here's all the research I went and found about what the challenges are. So that's what we're kind of going to do in the summer, just with the people that are going to have to actually implement this work, right? We don't want to bring them on too late, similar to like not bring the community on too late. So that's happening over the summer. I got approved by our assessment team for Hanover, who is a research company, to do some research because they do not have a research project right now, which means I slid on in there and I was like, so can you help us look at across the country, like what kind of magnet programs other school districts have so we can really think about our programming? Can you also tell us, like, I don't know how other districts do redistricting or reimagining across the country. So I got that in, that got approved. So that work is moving, so you'll have that information to kind of start looking at as we start thinking about recommendations. So in the fall, we're not, again, just kind of starting from nowhere. We'll have a little bit of a foundation both on the research end. You'll also get some information from all of the school visits. So I think we're at 89. So we have visited every school that is over capacity, every that is under capacity, and asked our principals about buildings, boundaries, programs, challenges, and what you guys love about what your building boundaries programs. And so there's some good questions. There's some good direction, I think. There's even some where we're like, so if you're adjacent to another school that's also 50% capacity, what you think? Like, what could we do? How could we imagine? Are there communities that we should not put together? The kind of things that like boots on the grounds would know that we may not. That information's in there. Kayla and I will synthesize all that to get that to you too. So again, once we're starting to put all this together, you have so many different areas of data points that we're just not kind of throwing things at the wall. So that is coming. So the survey, let's talk. So had a great idea. And it was to get all of these guiding principles into one platform, and then you guys move those and check to make sure they met the 3 A's, and then check to see which one made it as I believe it like most met or maybe did not meet the question, the big question, and then to rank them. What I did not know, because I'm not a survey girl, is that it split it into kind of 2 separate sections. Apparently, the survey software can only do 20 at a time. And so once you did your ranking, whatever was left was split up by 20 at a time. Learning things. So we have some options to think about when it comes to the survey. I lost my clip. Oh, it's in my back pocket. So option 1 is based on the fact that we know that it kind of split it up and then you ranked it based on those split options. Do we use the top 5 or 6 and create those as our building parameters? And I'll show you what they are. Or do we redo it, and that would mean that only 20 could go into that survey platform, and then you would rank them that way. So that's the first thing to consider, right? So our the weighted scales are a little wonky because for whatever reason, the first section was like 31 people, but the second section was only 30. Me and Kayla are trying to figure that out because it was still in one survey. Not really sure how that happened. So the weights are a little different, but the first one is that DeKalb County School District should consider economic development and population projections when making building decisions so that the district is not making short-term decisions. That kind of was at the top of the first kind of chunk of 20. The second one was at the top of the second chunk of 20, which was the county should consider all possible uses of buildings and the grounds, as well as community and program needs, considering the whole child, thinking about program services, extracurricular, to determine optimal use and optimal utilization rate. The next one is a building should maintain a sufficient level of occupancy to remain operational. The definition of optimal occupancy per building is more important than maximum capacity and should be honored. And that one was just about like, even if the building could hold 1,000, but your auditorium can only hold 800 and your parking lot can only hold 300, are we really putting 1,000 kids in the building? Optimal versus maximum. DeKalb County School District should establish standards around building age and facility score so that students and staff safety, educational environment, and fiscal responsibility are maximized. And the last one was DeKalb County School District should identify the best building capacity utilization that maximizes both resources, efficiency, and student and staff experience. Now, what I'll say about these, they encompass a lot of everything else that was in that survey. I will also say, as kind of my stake in the ground, that the building guiding principles are probably going to be the least important ones, in comparison to programs and boundaries. Your program and boundary stuff will eventually get us to the buildings. So I think if we can pick some that are pretty flexible, I'm not as concerned about where these fall. Open discussion time. Just want to hear some feedback. Yes.
I appreciated the spirit.
Sorry.
Thank you. I appreciated the spirit that you said on the call Monday night of like you kept the exact authenticity of what was submitted. You didn't edit it. But I think because of that, it was very hard. Like I found
narrow
it it was just like reading a lot of statements.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was just they were all starting to sound the same. It was really hard to differentiate. And I think like a real person or a group of people going through them and kind of like finding themes and pulling out the spirit. Like there'd be 5 and you were like, I don't know. I just picked one eventually because I was like, it seems like you need the survey today, so I'm gonna. But it wasn't really a super thoughtful because they all just started running together.
Yeah.
And so I think the attempt to keep the authenticity almost was like overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it needs somebody to do like a culling down and kind of getting them to some themes.
Okay.
And worrying less about the exact wordsmithing of that thing and just saying like occupancy, like just really dumbing it down to like, or simplifying it to like occupancy, you know, that maximum versus whatever occupancy, like that's a great point.
That's a huge one, yeah.
That's one, and there's probably like 5 statements that all said some version of that.
So can I get some either thumbs up or middle down for just like, can we categorize? So great. Like, I considered it and then I was like, I don't want people to think that we took their words out of context, but yeah.
Well, I mean, you could do both. You can theme
Share the
them.
raw.
You can theme them and cluster things, and then you can say, you could ask people to rank the clusters, and then within the cluster, somebody could
Here's
say,
the overarching
this
thing.
particular of the 5 things that looked alike, this is how we rank them. This is the one that expresses the most. So you don't have to edit, but you can cluster and theme them. You know, do a qualitative analysis, because then we can see. And then if something really doesn't fit any of us, we can always say, listen, you know, you said these 7 things were the same thing, but that number 7 is something completely different that's very important. We could give you that feedback.
Okay.
I don't think we will, but
I got you.
You could do that.
I'm following. Buying what you're selling? Yes.
I also felt like our first attempt included too many references to things that were actually boundaries in programming. And,
There was a lot.
I came out of that experience feeling like, okay, well, now I know what I need to do. I should have been focusing more on buildings.
Right.
And I think I personally, can't speak for anybody else, I felt like I missed the mark in my effort. And now that I understand the process, I
Yeah.
wish I could do it over again.
Fair. And again, your buildings is really going to be encompassing of what happens in boundaries and programs, honestly. So we'll get there. That's why I think broad and adaptable is the point of those guiding principles, because within there, we'll still be able to do. And I think to your point, I saw a lot of people doing what felt a little more like a recommendation and not a, right? Like, I'm like, so that's way too general, that's way too specific, that's inside of the parameters that we're trying to set. So learning curve, which is why we did buildings first, because I know this one, again, will have some ramifications of the other two. Okay, so one more thing, and then I'll give you some, I think, what we can do with it.
This is maybe just an observation. I don't see much about cost in our top ones, and I guess I'm just surprised that we didn't apparently value that.
The cost, yeah. And I did hear a lot of, or see a lot of like, overall efficiency. Like, I think people use them in a little more of a broader term. And I believe that like the financial part of this district is not technically our responsibility. And I know that's hard to hear. However, you really have to understand district finances to lean on that. So what we'll do is similar to this meeting that's going to happen. Hey, I'm so sorry. I totally didn't see you come in. Pause. We have some guests. Hey.
Hey, Allison Gebertz. I'm always here.
We'll be coming around in a little bit. Sorry about that. Told you, I'm not quite awake together, guys. But what we will do is that, like, you guys will come up with ideas, and then I will take that to finance and transportation and whatever. Like, hey, does this create some savings for us? Is this operational? And to bring that information back.
I absolutely respect what you're saying, and I realize that I don't know more than I know. But having been a longtime stakeholder in DeKalb County and knowing that we have buildings that are in below satisfactory condition, and we're told every year we don't have enough money, we have to make difficult choices. I feel like in creating these guiding principles, if we could have some input from the powers that be who have this knowledge about how to maximize QBE funding,
Yeah.
that would help us come up with better guidelines, because we don't want to run short of money. We don't want higher taxes. We don't want East lost indefinitely. We don't want poor schools for our teachers to work in or for our kids to attend.
Yeah.
So to me, that is a huge missing piece. If we knew the optimal size or the optimal organization to maximize QBE funding, we would be able to make an informed guiding
Recommendations.
principle.
So your guiding principle
could.
could
On the back end.
The guiding principle can still include something about parameters of QBE finances. It can't be specific, right? And so I hear you, Nancy, are we missing that chunk? So we'll go back and look at,
Maybe not, that's how everybody voted. Are these the results from just the north or from the whole?
nope, that's the whole thing.
The whole thing?
Yep.
I was just wondering if I could get a definition of QBE funding.
One of our board members like to take a stab at that one?
It's quality basic education is what QBE stands for. It's this very, very complicated formula that multiple gold ribbon task forces have been seated on to redo this. It's been in place for, 20 years at least?
80s.
Since the 80s, okay?
More than 20 years.
But times have changed, but yes, it's the way that we receive state
Funding.
funding per pupil, which is influenced by the number district-wide of empty seats versus filled seats countywide. So it's not like you don't get funding if your school has 399 kids versus 400 kids. It looks at the whole district at the empty seats, and that can impact the QBE funding.
Which is why in that Miracles thing, that 20,000 open seats is important, right? That's a lot of open seats for a district this size. So that's what I mean by the guiding principles have to be broad enough to say, one of them said something about, where'd it go? Like optimal utilization rate. And we could, for your sakes, like we can add into that to optimize QBE, right? Like that you can add the kind of language in there that makes it general enough that we aren't, again, being so minute that we have to understand the function of QBE and the interesting matrix for it. So we'll take a step. I'm gonna send this around because you guys were here today. I probably would have recorded a little thing and then sent it out for feedback. But since you were here, I was like, oh, let me just test the waters while, live. So we'll make a little something. We'll send it to the whole committee, and we'll say, based on what we saw and based on this part of the survey, here's kind of what came out of that. Here's some themes. Give us your feedback on these 4. Okay? We're good with that? Yeah? Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay, so same thing today, making the guiding principles, but it will be on boundaries this time. So there, something I don't remember that we pushed enough is go back in your worksheets and look at what you guys said a few months ago. You guys had some good ideas. There were some good thoughts. There were some good questions. So go back to those and see like some of the stuff that emerged, because you want to make sure you're using some brainstorming time. Theme your brainstorm and take those themes and create them into guiding principles. Yes? We have some chart paper, maybe. Kayla has chart paper for you guys, for those who like to write and be visual when doing this. And then we'll come around like we did last time. And while you're doing this, I might be theming some guiding principles.
Can you just remind me again how the guiding principles are used?
Yes.
I know I've heard it.
Your 3 A's, this?
Is this for like making recommendations in the fall?
So your guiding principles are your parameters that will eventually get us to recommendations. Okay. So in the fall, you'll kind of have some stuff based on what you guys have been thinking already. We're already working on some maps just based on like kind of the generic policies that are in place, like population in the school area, what is it called? Proximity to a school. Like you could see maps in a bunch of different ways. So we're making some general ones just based on policy. And then David Yoke is trying to create a tool that you guys can kind of physically play with that has filters that you can just start like filtering things in to see what kind of map that might make. So fingers crossed on that, because that sounds great, for us to play around in a system. So your guiding principles eventually will be kind of the metrics that you would measure like we came up with this boundary map. Now you can make these guiding principles, does it meet those? Or how well does it meet those? And you'll be able to kind of rank that or score it, if that makes sense. So again, your parameters to eventually get to the recommendation, because you're going to have a bunch of different looking recommendations. And the guiding principles will be kind of the lever to say, how well does this recommendation meet these things that we said are our guiding principles? Yeah? All right, let's get to work.
Is it boundaries or programs?
What's today? Boundaries. Yes, programs. Sure. Just kidding. Programs. It's programs. I'm sorry. Apparently I put boundaries on there. Let's do what we said on the map. Yeah. All right. What order did we go in? Building boundaries program? Well, what order did we do the building boundaries programs? Yes. That's my typo on the calendar. Boundaries. That was my typo in there. Yes, boundaries. Yes. Guiding principles on boundaries. So look back at what you guys did for boundaries. That part. All right. Great job, hard at work. Great conversations per usual. We're gonna share out and we're gonna be crunching some stuff and getting you some new guiding principle processes coming. And I just wanna reiterate, like, this is really like following the work. So like, I facilitate. I am not an expert in all the things, and if something comes up that doesn't feel right or doesn't work, we're gonna pivot, right? So just appreciate your patience and then kind of learning to follow that work with me. Appreciate that. All right, who's gonna share their guiding principles that you guys will all see very quick soon? So.
Oh, thanks. Close to the mic. Okay, we came up with 3 guiding principles for buildings, right? Just kidding. Just
Boundaries.
messed around. Okay.
I'm like, wait, what's the order?
I was paying attention here.
Yeah, I was
Okay, boundaries. Create boundaries that build community and minimize student travel time. Create boundaries that are data informed, considering current and projected enrollment trends, building capacity, and utilization rates, which should be happening, but, you know,
Fair.
seems like it needs to be restated. And then also boundary adjustments should address the unique instructional needs of each student, for example, IEP.
Oh, all right. Very efficient.
Okay, I get to read. Boundaries should consider walkabilities for parents and students to be able to safely access their community school. Okay, how do I get to the next page? Okay. And then we have a separate, boundaries should consider proximity, distance to school for parents and students to be able to safely access, because they're not the same thing.
Okay.
Okay. Existing school success and specific programs should be considered when reassigning boundaries. And socioeconomic factors should be considered when drawing boundaries in order to give schools more equitable access to resources.
Socioeconomic factors. Okay. Nice. We're just going around the table. Here we go.
We also came up with 3.
You overachievers in the room.
Well, we'll see. So one of them was, we looked back at board policy that was in an earlier slide deck, and I'm not going to read off the policy, sorry. School boundaries should be evaluated every 5 years to comply with current Board of Education policy, but to echo other people, I will say we specifically talked about that policy's mention of geographic proximity, because neighborhood schools, and efficient and economic operations, because transportation.
Nice.
Yeah, thanks. Our next one was all stakeholders should be consulted about potential boundary changes and given advance notice. We suggested 2 years. And then we think it's important that we mention that boundaries should be drawn to promote racial and ethnic diversity, especially when looking at how some of the current lines, you know, look.
Ooh, wait. All right. Historical. Very nice. You said y'all had that one too? Okay. Very nice.
Okay, we ended in 10 minutes, we drafted our actual guiding principles. So we're really glad that you guys had similar ideas and some good wordsmithing. When drawing boundaries, proximity should be one of the highest priorities.
Okay.
When boundaries are being assessed, I did just steal your stakeholder term. The stakeholders must be engaged from the onset of discussions. The district must provide consistent communication of the plan and timeline. We talked about a lot of examples, both in our district and neighboring districts, of changes just occurring.
Abrupt. Yeah.
The district must establish a standard process and frequency for evaluating and changing boundaries. It was kind of referencing that, but we didn't have enough time to get into the details of exactly what that should be. The district must align to a consistent feeder pattern. This was the 4th one. Either one-to-one or split feeders to impact students and communities equitably, not applying different patterns to different communities.
Oh, okay. There's some. When I synthesize all of this, like, you know, I've got some things I'm feeling. I'm feeling some connections.
We said DeKalb should utilize forecasting data such as economic development forecast, population density, and the movement of children between public school and private school to determine cluster lines every 5 years.
Nice. That is.
DeKalb should prioritize intact neighborhoods when drawing cluster boundaries. And DeKalb should consider drawing cluster boundaries in a way that will facilitate safe and efficient transportation of students.
Nice. Whew. I feel like you guys synthesized a lot for me. I don't know if this one's going to be that hard for me to get to. That was great. That was great. You guys just got my brain. I'm awake now, so you know my brain is like, it's starting to move now. Phenomenal. So I will, again, obviously 3 more of these have to happen. We'll get all that information, and we'll similarly have kind of like, come drop in. Here's kind of the theming that I'm seeing happening. Here's some guiding principles around those themes that I think encapsulates all of those guiding principles underneath that theme. Let's chat about that, and then we'll kind of keep that survey open for a while. Next meeting, this is April. Oh, we only have 1 more until break. It's crazy. Summer's here almost. I feel like these 8 weeks are long, but summer's almost here. So thank you. Like, honestly, you guys have been like really, really hard at work. And for those of you that read stuff outside of this district or say like, hey, did you hear about this happening? I honestly do read your emails. I will reply. I want to know the things that are happening around us too, or even just in your areas, in your clusters, because it will impact our work. So, you know, I like to bring all of it to the table on the onset so we can work through it throughout. So I appreciate you guys. Exit ticket, because Kayla's about to look at me. Yay. And again, we'll kind of shift a little bit on how to get to those top guiding principles, but these definitely have some nice themes. Good job, guys. Thank you. That was a good job.
Yeah.
I like these ones. I like these a lot. You know, you had a little dry run. You know, that's why we did buildings first, because again, you know, we'll get around.
See where they're going, like when you envision someone like voting on your principle.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Like, how do you? Nancy said you guys stepped your game up this time. Very good. I definitely did not change the exit ticket. Yep, it should be programs and not, You got it. I did not change it. And I said I was going to do it as soon as I got here. And didn't.